2 decades of power, 2 decades of dominance, and tonight, it's about to collapse. That building behind those storm clouds once controlled the flow of energy across an entire nation. Now it's standing in the path of something far more violent. This is Houston, Texas, October 2001, and Enron is about to fall. 2 years earlier, it was chaos in the best possible way. Phones screaming, traders shouting over each other, millions moving in seconds, green numbers exploding across CRT screens, energy contracts multiplying, confidence everywhere. This wasn't just a company, it was a machine. Enron Energy Services. On stage, the leadership radiated certainty, a smile that said, "We've cracked the system." Behind him, the stock chart rose like a vertical line to the sky. Too steep, too perfect. The audience applauded. They weren't clapping for profits, they were clapping for a promise. $90 a share, then higher again. Investors couldn't buy fast enough. Green numbers flooded the screen, blinding, overpowering. And for just a split second, a flicker, a glitch, gone before anyone could question it. Champagne poured under a golden Houston sunset, polished mahogany, signed documents, quiet satisfaction. Inside that room, they believed they had engineered the future. Energy wasn't just flowing through pipelines anymore. It was flowing through spreadsheets, and the numbers said, unstoppable. Same office, same skyline, but the warmth is gone. Dust settles where ambition once lived. Chairs overturned, lights flickering. The machine is silent, and what remains is the echo of the biggest corporate illusion America had ever seen. It started with a handshake. Not loud, not dramatic. Just 2 men in a Houston office in 1985, locking eyes, locking futures. Behind them, a skyline still growing, an industry still predictable. Natural gas, pipelines, infrastructure. When the logos went up on that glass wall, they weren't building a company, they were building scale. From Texas, the lines began to spread. Across deserts, across state borders, across an entire country. Steel buried beneath sand and soil, compressor stations roaring day and night, energy moving silently under America's feet. Enron wasn't just transporting gas, it was mapping control. And then came the moment that changed everything: deregulation. In Washington, doors revolved quietly, suits moved through marble halls, pens signed what would redefine an industry. Energy would no longer be just delivered, it would be traded. And Enron understood something before everyone else did. Volatility was opportunity. By 1998, the trading rooms were electric. CRT monitors flickered like slot machines, numbers blinking in green bursts of promise. Traders shouting, calculating, executing. Energy contracts, futures, derivatives. Gas wasn't fuel anymore, it was a financial weapon. And Enron was learning how to fire it. In 1999, the praise became official. Glossy covers, bold headlines. America's most innovative company. Year after year, innovation wasn't questioned, it was celebrated. The champagne glasses reflected city lights, and executives began to believe they had rewritten the rules of capitalism. By 2000, the market was convinced. Confetti in trading floors, high fives in slow motion, stock price climbing like it had no ceiling. $90, then higher. Investors poured in. Because Enron didn't look like a utility company, it looked like the future, and the future seemed unstoppable. While the market celebrated, someone else was still awake. In a dark office, lit only by a green desk lamp, the spreadsheets told a different story. Red numbers, deep red. They didn't whisper, they screamed. And as the screen reflected in his eyes, one realization settled in. The profits weren't real. Enron had mastered a powerful accounting trick: mark to market. The moment a deal was signed, they booked the projected profits as if they had already been earned. Future money, counted as present cash, billions appearing instantly on paper, and when reality didn't match the projection, the numbers simply adjusted. In quiet boardrooms, complex diagrams covered the table. Partnerships inside partnerships, entities within entities, structures so layered even insiders struggled to explain them. But the goal was simple: move the debt, hide the losses, protect the illusion, and the nods around the table said one thing: proceed. Under the bright sun of the Cayman Islands, new companies were born. On paper, shell entities with clean names and quiet addresses. Debt disappeared into them, losses relocated offshore. In tropical light, it looked harmless. In reality, it was concealment. Spreadsheets expanded, columns copied, figures multiplied, debt reshaped into assets, losses transformed into projections. The screen filled with confidence, until the numbers became so large they began to distort. Too many layers, too much leverage, and still the report said growth. On Wall Street, nothing seemed wrong. The stock moved calmly, green, stable, predictable. Investors smiled. Analysts repeated the same word: innovative. The outside world saw strength. Inside, the foundation was cracking. Then came the message. Subject line: we are in trouble. No fanfare, no dramatic announcement, just a blinking cursor in a dark room, a warning sent upward, quiet, direct, dangerously real. One executive decided to write it down, confidential, detailed, specific. She described accounting practices that could implode the company. She paused before sending it, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it, and she knew what this meant. In the meeting room, the concern was raised, briefly, calmly. The response? A dismissive smile, confidence bordering on arrogance. The numbers were too strong, they said. The market too convinced. The warning felt inconvenient, so it was set aside. Then the line bent, just slightly at first. A small dip, barely noticeable. Then another. Red began to replace green, and suddenly the downward angle wasn't temporary. At home, an employee refreshed his retirement account. Company stock, safe, loyal, reliable. The numbers fell faster than he could process. Savings built over years, evaporating in days. The illusion wasn't abstract anymore. It was personal. Enron under investigation, 2001. No celebration now, no applause, just scrutiny. The machine that once looked invincible was finally being questioned. And once doubt enters the system, it spreads. On October 16, 2001, the illusion cracked in public. Cameras flashed, microphones waited, and then the number hit. $618 million in losses. Not projected, not theoretical, real. For the first time, confidence sounded rehearsed, and the room felt smaller. The market reacted instantly. $90 a share became 60, then 40, then 20. Panic spread faster than logic. Every sell order fed the next. The screen flickered red, and the fall stopped pretending to be temporary. Inside offices, another reaction unfolded. Paper fed into shredders, box after box, contracts, memos, evidence. The sound was mechanical, relentless, a desperate attempt to erase what had already happened. But destruction leaves traces, and someone was watching. By late October, federal investigators stepped in, files under their arms, expressions unreadable. The building that once symbolized innovation now attracted scrutiny. Regulators began asking questions that executives could no longer deflect. The word investigation entered the headlines, and it didn't leave. Then came the human exodus. Employees walked out of the tower carrying cardboard boxes, photos, desk plants, years of loyalty reduced to personal belongings. Some had invested their entire retirement in company stock. They had believed the story. Now they were walking through its wreckage. The ticker slowed, single digits, then lower. Billions in market value, gone. Not transferred, not hidden, gone. One of America's largest corporations was collapsing in real time, and the speed was staggering. On December 2, 2001, Enron filed for bankruptcy. At the time, it was the largest corporate bankruptcy in United States history. A titan of energy, reduced to a legal document. The machine had stopped. Trading was suspended. Investors locked out. Employees frozen. The once unstoppable stock became a symbol of warning. The same market that celebrated innovation now dissected deception. Confidence had turned into caution. News anchors repeated the story over and over. How did this happen? How could a company praised for innovation collapse in weeks? The answer wasn't simple. It wasn't one decision. It was layers, built carefully, protected aggressively, and finally exposed. Executives faced hearings, under oath, under lights, under pressure. Statements grew cautious. Memories grew selective. The confidence from 2 years earlier had evaporated. What remained was accountability, or at least the appearance of it. Investors across the country began to question everything. If Enron could fall, who was next? The collapse wasn't isolated. It sent a message through Wall Street. Numbers can lie, and when they do, the damage spreads far beyond one company. By early 2002, the tower still stood, but the power inside it was gone. Conference rooms were empty, phones silent. The name that once meant innovation now meant scandal. The rise had been spectacular. The collapse was historic. Morning light. Silence. A couple sits at their kitchen table, a single sheet of paper between them. The numbers don't make sense. Their savings, their future, their retirement, gone. A desk, a missing nameplate, dust floating in sunlight. Someone used to sit here. 30 years of loyalty, packed into a cardboard box. No warning, no goodbye. 5 years later, a federal courtroom, cameras waiting, jurors watching. The men who once ruled Wall Street now sit in silence. Power looks different from this angle. Metal clicks, cold, final. Justice does not rush, but when it arrives, it is absolute. Screens everywhere. Enron scandal, corporate fraud, largest bankruptcy in history. News anchors, breaking alerts, endless analysis. From Houston to New York to London to Tokyo. The world is watching. Outside the Enron Tower, anger spills into the streets. Corporate greed. Justice now. These aren't investors. These are families. Thousands of pages. Investigation. Accounting irregularities. Special purpose entities. The truth was buried, layer by layer. Now it's being uncovered. A memo to CEO, confidential. Warnings were written. Concerns were raised. Inside the company, someone knew, but the machine kept running. August 2001, Jeffrey Skilling resigns. No explanation, no accountability, just a briefcase and a quiet exit. The storm was already here. Trading floors erupt. Red screens, phones ringing nonstop. $90, $60, $30, $10. Panic spreads faster than truth. Analysts flip through reports. Exposure, debt, off-balance sheet liabilities. The numbers were never real. They were engineered. A gavel strikes. The echo lingers. In 2006, Kenneth and Jeffrey Skilling are found guilty. For some, justice feels late. For others, it feels incomplete. Inside Arthur Andersen offices, paper feeds into shredders. Evidence disappears. Trust disappears faster. One of the largest accounting firms in the world collapses with it. The ticker flickers. $1, 50 cents, pennies. The company, once worth over $60 billion, is now worth almost nothing. Empty cubicles, family photos left behind, coffee cups still on desks, a skyscraper full of ghosts. Bankruptcy, fraud, collapse. In December 2001, Enron files for Chapter 11. At the time, the largest corporate bankruptcy in U.S. history. Washington moves. New hearings, new regulations. In 2002, Congress passes the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. Stricter rules, more oversight. Because when trust collapses, the system must change. But for thousands of employees, no law could bring back what was lost. Early morning, Houston is quiet. Outside the former Enron Tower, there is no crowd, no traders, no executives, just cold air and a building that still stands. Power disappeared. The structure remained. Former investors gather outside banks. They check their phones. They reread statements. Some are angry. Some are silent. All of them believed the numbers. In warehouses across the country, boxes are stacked to the ceiling. Pending investigation, accounting review, internal communications. thousands of pages. Proof takes time. Cameras flash. In Washington, officials promise reform, accountability, transparency, oversight. Words that should have existed from the beginning. Analysts sit under dim light. They rebuild models. They test assumptions. No more blind faith. Every decimal point now carries suspicion. A courtroom. Stillness. In 2006, Jeffrey Skilling is sentenced to prison. Accountability finally has a face. But prison time does not restore trust. An empty hallway. Footsteps echo. This is what collapse sounds like. After the noise fades. Silence. Houston rebuilds. New logos replace old ones. New executives promise a different culture. Markets recover, but memory does not reset. The ticker moves calmly now. Green lines, steady numbers, systems were tightened. In 2002, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act rewrote corporate accountability because trust is infrastructure. Years later, the Enron case appears in textbooks. Business schools study it. Law schools analyze it, not as a mystery, but as a warning. Night falls over Houston. Lights flicker across the skyline. The city moves on, but somewhere, in retirement accounts, in court records, in archived emails, the story remains. Enron did not just collapse, it changed the rules, and it proved something timeless. When profit replaces integrity, collapse is only a matter of time.